Rock and roll, baby.
Indeed.
Welcome, one and all, to this week's episode of Sharpen the Saw with our Wise Agent Society. Today we have a longtime friend and guest, Zach Hammer, all the way from Eastern Iowa currently.
Yep.
And so welcome to the show, Zach. We're going to talk about some internet marketing and your real estate growth hackers system. Is that what we call it? A system?
It's a brand. It's a collection of courses and ideas and trainings and all sorts of things.
Good. Well, welcome. Thank you very much for joining me today.
Yeah, you got it. Glad to be here. Glad to be talking with you and helping the fine folks at the Wise Agent Society.
Yeah, the Wise Agent Society and the public at large, if they
there we go.
decide to peek in.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so it looks like things are shaping up for a nice little Thanksgiving, here in Iowa.
Yeah, absolutely. It's chilly out today. It has been warm. I'm not sure how it is on the you're on more of the you're on the eastern side. I'm on the western side.
You're on the western side. I said that backwards. I don't know.
Yeah, but I assume the weather is somewhat similar there as it is here. It's feeling chilly. It's a little bit wet out, and it had been warm this past week, but it's shifting more toward the cooler weather, I think.
Yeah, which I'm down with. We enjoy the cooler weather. We like the changing and crazy and wonky weather. We actually really like it.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I tend to I tend to like the overall shift. I think fall and spring tend to be some of my favorite times. Toward the end of winter, though, when it's like in that phase of winter shifting into spring, where it's like you get like a week of nice weather and then you get a snowstorm, and then I hate that time because I'm like, I just want to be to the next phase. But
it's like, just kidding. It drags on. It could go either way too. Like sometimes summer, it's like, good grief, man, go away. I want some fall. I'm ready for fall.
Indeed.
But that's kind of the cool thing. It's like right when you get kind of used to one, it starts shifting into the other. So
absolutely.
Very nice. Well, cool. Well, thanks again for coming. Let's share with the folks a little bit about how we know each other. You and I go way back to the Las Vegas days, Keller Williams, and you worked for the Snyder team.
That's right.
Back in the day doing their marketing, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. So before then, I've been sort of on a journey of entrepreneurship and marketing for a while. I've been doing internet marketing for a long time, about 15 years at this point. But yeah, about 10 years ago, I took a job as the marketing director for the Snyder Group team there in Las Vegas. And at the time, I knew nothing about real estate, but I did know marketing, and so I learned about real estate through working with them. I worked with them for, I believe it was about 3 years, give or take, maybe a month or two. I forget which end it goes to, longer than 3 years or less than 3 years. But anyway, sure. But yeah, while I was there, 5x their lead flow, cut their cost per lead in half, and doubled in business every year that I was there. But I am a horrible employee. and an entrepreneur at heart. So we left on good terms, but that's where real estate growth hackers came from, is essentially everything that I learned while I was there. I started, applying and helping agents and teams and brokerages all across the country, actually all across the world at this point. I've had clients in US, Canada, Australia. It's been a wild ride, but helping people with marketing and real estate, it's been good stuff.
That's so cool, man. It's very cool. And that you were a part of. So Dale Snyder is the owner of Dale Snyder team. And now he's also the operating principal of Keller Williams VIP. He's a great dude. Right. So great person to be involved with and to get your real estate knowledge on top of your marketing knowledge. And I'll say, like, if you came into it with at least marketing knowledge, no real estate knowledge, I think you're one up on me. Like, I have knowledge of neither one. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've put together a couple of things over the years, but
I mean, everything's learnable. That's for sure.
Yeah, dude. But very cool that you were part of that team. And we worked together in Debbie Zois's office, Keller Williams in Las Vegas. And we worked in her original office, which is just kind of a normal strip mall type office place, and then she moved and built that huge, where it is currently, their office on, what is that, Durango and Fort Apache? Yeah, which is so cool. It's a very beautiful office and all that. So we got to go through that transition together and see that evolve from what it was to what it is today, which is still really amazing. And miss all my peeps there. We had a lot of great agents and friends at that office.
Absolutely. It's a beautiful office. It's like really well situated and whatnot too. Just an awesome place to be right there. What is that? I always forget. Is that one Town Square or Town Center? I always forget.
Town Square. I think Town Center is the Henderson one. Right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yep. But anyway. It's awesome. There's a lot of restaurants and all of that stuff, and it's right by the lakes. It's right by Queensridge. It's right by downtown Summerlin. It's a good spot.
Right. Yeah, it's a good spot.
Yeah. So very cool. So and in there, I love how that you were able to take the knowledge that you got in the real estate sector and then expand on it. And, of course, that's a huge lucrative market, too, is they always say, if you want to make a lot of money in real estate, sell stuff to realtors. Right.
Honestly, what I've learned is that people say that, and it ends up being something. This at least from my perspective. There is a lot of opportunity for sure. Anytime that you have cash flowing, there's plenty of opportunity. But what I often see is a group of people that have a very minimal skill set coming in and thinking that they're going to be able to cash these massive checks off of these huge commissions that real estate agents are raking in, not realizing that many real estate agents are kind of in this constant struggle of learning how to get cash flow being consistent and learning how to run their business like a business and not have that feast famine cycle and all of that. And so a lot of people come in ready and willing to sell things to real estate agents thinking they've got these loaded people.
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes depends on what month you ask them.
Sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That and anyway. which agents too, right? Because the truth of the matter is it's well over. Well, let's say it this way. It's less than 10% of real estate agents are doing all of the business.
Right.
So sure, you might know Uncle Jerry or cousin whoever or my brother-in-law or whatever. They're all these people. I know a realtor. Right. Yeah, I know you do, but chances of them actually being in the top, 10% is probably not. So they sell a house or two, but I wouldn't call them necessarily experts. And that doesn't mean that just because you haven't sold a bunch of houses or whatever that you can't be an expert. I'm just saying that. So the public understands that, they're not all real estate agents are created equal, and therefore, like you said there, they might not have that kind of established income stream or business structure, which is largely what I help with in my coaching and help people learn how to manage that with tools and tracking and all that stuff.
Exactly.
So,
and that's the key, right? So it's anybody can learn it. Anybody could grow into that business. But on the end of offering services, to real estate agents and real estate professionals, people come in thinking it's like easy money because everyone's loaded, and they're in for a rude awakening when it's like, no, you got to find the people who actually have cash flow, need your help, and that you can relevantly help, because most agents aren't actually hurting just for leads. They need business systems. They need more than just somebody that inquired on a lead form, right? But yeah. Anyway.
Well, so I think that the two of us are like a 1-2 punch. You know what I mean? So absolutely. I help people with the coaching of their getting all these tools and stuff put into place so they can run their business like a business, and we cut out all the fluff. So we cut out all the garbage. So you'll meet a lot of realtors that are really busy, and well, they're not busy doing money-making activities. That's what I call MIMS.
Right.
But so we boil it down to one of the first books I read ever in real estate, probably my first month, was The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Have you heard of that book?
Oh, nice. Yeah, that book is actually part of what started me into my marketing journey. So we have a similar pedigree then. That book's cool. Kind of foundational to my journey too.
Oh, that's super cool. So Rob Jensen is the team leader that I worked for at the time, and he's an amazing dude. He's still doing amazing. He's a luxury guard gated specialist, but he's very systemized, very He's a super smart guy. Anyway, so he told me, I don't know if he told me to read it. Maybe he was reading it, whatever. But I was like, I mean, sold. Like whatever you are doing, I'm going to do that. So read that book, and it was life-changing. So basically, it boils down to, real quick synopsis for people, is that it's basically doing the 80-20 rule. So 20% of the work that produces the 80% of the results is kind of what Tim Ferriss says to focus on, which I did literally. So that's what I started doing. And that's what helped me to get in the top 1% in about a year and a half in Las Vegas.
Nice.
So, that's kind of what you want to do when I'm coaching. I'm teaching people like, hey, we're not going to be busy just to be busy, because there's so many agents. I've been doing this for 25 years. I work 80 hours a week. I'm like, yeah, I see you in the office all the time, not making money. It's awesome. So good for them. And I'm not dogging it. And so some people say, well, there's different levels of success, And I'm like, okay, sure. But I mean, like, you can work 15 hours a week like I do and be in the top 1% of realtors in one of the biggest, markets in the country. Or you can work 80 hours a week and make 60 grand a year. I mean, it's like, which one is really the success? Like, work-life balance.
I mean, shoot, if what people are looking for is a social club to be around other realtors, then man, many people are achieving exactly that, right?
Yes.
They're surrounding themselves with other people that are doing the same thing and not having necessarily a lot of business results to show for it, but you're around other people. Maybe that's what people want, right? There is something to be said for that, but yeah.
You know what? That's right. And by no means is this any kind of knock on like an office setting or a brick and mortar, even though that my new company isn't set up that way. But I mean, because I cherish it. I love having interaction with people and all that stuff. People that know me know that I'm very social and I really enjoy it. But I'll tell you what, that's my downfall, and why I can't go to the office is because that's what I'll do, is I'll socialize and talk, and I'll actually help other people and coach other people in their business when I'm not doing the things that I should do. So that's why I work here. Like the door's closed. Like nobody bothers me here. And I can do social stuff, and I can unplug and then get back to the grind work, I would call it, which is that's what everybody has to do.
Yeah, that to me is also, it really fits together with what what Tim Ferriss talks about in 4-Hour Workweek is it's not so much getting rid of everything. It's being able to actively choose when you're doing the things that you want to, maximize the things that you want to, right? It's not about, like, to be successful, it's not like you have to not be social, but you don't want being social to overcrowd you doing the work that you need to, right? So you need to be able to be social when you need to be social. You need to be able to be productive when you need to be productive. So crafting that environment, crafting that space that lets you do the right things at the right times in the way that works for you and your personality. That makes all the difference for achieving that success, for sure.
Totally. One of the 4 tools that we coach and teach at my company. This is the most I've ever talked about my company, by the way, in an interview. This is so funny, but I love it.
I want to hear it.
Happens to be relevant is that we teach people. One of our 4 tools is the perfect daily schedule, which is basically a time blocking exercise, which we go through and we schedule all that kind of stuff. So you have we make it a good work-life balance for everybody. That's, by the way, and I had shared with you a little bit earlier, we're up to 85 agents at the Wise Agent Society. So really excited about that. I blew past, I don't know if I announced the 70 mark, and then we hit 80, and I haven't even announced, or maybe I did 70. I didn't do 80, and now we're almost to 90. But
you're just growing too fast to keep up with the announcements.
I'm blessed to be so. But I'm just really thankful for having like so many cool agents that are plugging in and, to me. And then of course I have a huge, amazing team in Denver that is growing rapidly with Barry Overton and Monica Graves and Dan Gomer. Those are my peeps. And there's a whole bunch more there, but just shout out to them for really kicking butt out there and working together to build our whole organization. But that time blocking is a massive part to it. And we tailor it to each agent because, it doesn't matter how much you don't have to be the hardest grinder. Like you don't have to put in the most time into something. We make it so it's a work-life balance. So what's appropriate to you and your family and your goals and your needs, and we shape it all together in one thing. And then you just kind of have to watch what you're doing and follow your schedule the best you can. So having those pieces in place will make that all possible. Like you said, social when you want to be social, and
absolutely
business oriented when you need to be business oriented.
Yeah, I found that definitely to be the case when it comes to one of the phrases that I like to say is that constraints breed creativity. And when you have to figure out, I only have this much time to do this thing, it makes you much more creative at actually leveraging that time effectively, right? Yeah. It's why budgets work well, because when you say I only have this much money to spend on this thing, you start getting more creative and more resourceful for how you're going to use that money, and you actually think more about is this the best utilization of this dollar versus would I rather have this dollar go somewhere else. And so budgets can be useful whether it's your time or your money to actually get really creative to find good solutions. Can I share one of the tools that I use to help me with my scheduling and time?
Please, I'd rather hear your tools. People hear enough for me. Whatever you got, buddy.
I don't know if it would work well for your folks or not, but I'm using a tool right now called Reclaim.ai. And what it does is it allows you to put the tasks that you need to accomplish, whether, you can pull them in from like a project management system, or you could even add them right into it, or use like Google Tasks and it can integrate with that. And you tell it, when you need to get it done, about how much time it's going to take, when it needs to start. So when you need to start, when you need to get it done, about how much time it's going to take. And what it actually does is that you tell it your time blocks, right? You say like these are my working hours. These are my personal hours. These are the things that I kind of need to get done. And then what it does is it actually puts them on your calendar for you at those times based on what you're working on. And if you don't get them done, it'll actually put them back onto your calendar for you if you want to, so that you make sure that you get them done and check them off and move them forward. And so what's cool is that for me, I have a strategy, a plan. My work is a little bit different than the work of a real estate agent, but there's similarities for sure. So in my business, I have the work that I have to do to service clients, to help the people that I'm helping directly. But I also have the time that I want to make sure that I'm moving my business forward, right? Where I'm working on my business, improving it, adding in marketing strategies, adding in systemization and stuff like that. So every 2 weeks, I will lay out about what I think I can accomplish in the next 2 weeks. And then I plan that out by saying, this is about how long I think it's going to take. This is when I want to get it done by. And then Reclaim.ai will automatically flow those tasks into my schedule and mix in the work that I need to do on behalf of clients, and mix in other habitual things that I want to do. Like when do I typically take lunch? When do I want to meet with my assistant? I have a daily standing meeting with my assistant that gets scheduled in every day automatically based on everything else that I need to do. And then what's cool is that all of that also integrates with a scheduling platform through Reclaim, just like Calendly, so that people can get on my calendar, and it will block off times or make them available depending on the priorities that I've set and what could supersede different tasks. And it sounds really complex, and it can be at its basic level. You could get started with it, and it could be really simple. Over time, I've been using it now for, I don't know how long, probably 3, 4, 5 months, something like that. And over that time, my system has become a little bit more advanced as I've learned how I work well and how to adjust it to work well to me. But at the beginning, literally just putting in my tasks and having it put them on my calendar was super helpful for actually being able to lay out, what do I need to get done by when, and what really do I feel like I can accomplish this week. And
I think it's cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's super cool. That is I think it would be useful for me right now. I can see how, and then for anybody that has just a lot of tasks, and for me anyway, especially, I'm like, scatterbrained and, easily distracted, and as Tara will
Right.
attest to, and anybody that's ever worked with me. So that could be super helpful as far as getting that time blocking down better. And the thing is that it keeps it in there until you're done with it.
Exactly. So there's different ways that you could set it. That's how I have mine set. If I don't mark it as done, it puts it back in. But people can, depending on how you work. If you know that you pretty readily get done what shows up on your calendar, you can also have it set that it marks it done if it was in your calendar at that time. So for some people, it might work better that way. But for me, I'm definitely in the way of like, I got way distracted on this other task, or it took drastically longer than I thought it was. So I need this to show back up on my calendar.
Yeah, no, that's great. So, back to where we were at the beginning of this, the whole idea was to be your kind of forte would be internet marketing. And then, but you also said that you have a new kind of focus on AI in general, right?
Yeah. So that's one of the other things that's been fun and interesting. So overall, typically, what I've been most fascinated in and helping to leverage and dial in is marketing, right? Lead gen, lead follow up, all the systems around that. Getting essentially everything that leads up to or is involved in somebody signing, the buyer brokerage or signing the listing agreement and being excited to work with you. Everything that leads up to that process, that's kind of been my forte, right? That's where I focused. But in that process, obviously I have my own business helping people do this, right? And so I've actually been experimenting with AI for years. Literally the earliest forms of leveraging AI in the simplest ways. I pretty much since I started. It's only recently that the AI systems have gotten advanced enough that they've started becoming easy enough for most people to leverage as well, if that makes sense. And so in 2020, I think is when things really started taking off. 2022 or actually, but was it this year, 2023? I forget when ChatGPT launched. That's when the general public started becoming more aware of what some of these large language models and things like that could do. But for me and my business, a big secret for how I've been able to get more done, maybe than the average person does alone, is that I leverage a lot of AI, automation, and technology in order to amplify my skill set. And so these days, that's one of the places where I see a massive amount of opportunity for folks. Is what can you do to integrate AI into your teams, into your systems, in order to achieve drastically either higher quality or higher quantity output from the people who are already working for you, possibly being able to scale up your output without scaling up your staff or outlay of cash, those sorts of things. And so, we've put together a group where we're going to be starting to mastermind and actually put into practice some of these principles. So, like right now, I use AI in order to build out and develop ad campaigns, and it's not just a bunch of collections of everybody else's prompts. A lot of this is through my own research study and actually putting into practice, spending at this point, let me be exact here, at least $60,000 worth of ad spend behind ad campaigns that we're running that are based off of these AI systems in order to figure out what strategies work, etc. I use AI to actually make documentation of processes drastically easier, where I could go from video to transcript to a really well laid out documented SOP that used to take somebody multiple hours to achieve. Now with a 5-minute video and a 15-minute process of cleaning up an SOP, now you have a well-documented process ready to go.
What's the SOP? Maybe
good question. So SOP stands for Standard Operating Procedure. So it's the idea is think of it like a recipe, but for your business operation, right? Okay. So it's let me put it into practice for a real estate agent. So I might have a series of SOPs around marketing a listing, right? And those SOPs are going to take in things like, well, this is what our process is for securing photos. Who do we use? What kind of expectations do we have for photos around the listing? What is our process for ordering them? Where do they go after we get them ordered? What is our process for leveraging those photos into actually marketing the listing, right? So all of that being documented is what ultimately makes it so that somebody on your team can run that process for you so that you're not having to be the one to do it. And the better that you have that documentation, the more that it helps you to be able to build your business scalably. The more it makes your business potentially sellable because it's built on processes.
Process.
Yeah. Rather than just intuitive knowledge. It also makes it so that you can, inevitably, even if you have the most amazing business in the world, you treat your employees great, you are wonderful to work for, people will inevitably leave your company, right? Like that. You will have churn of staff and employees because people's goals change over time. Maybe they're moving away and it doesn't make sense to work remotely. Maybe they get married and that changes their life goals. Maybe something happens in their family that now they need to be the caretaker of their parents, so they leave your family or they leave being able to work with you. Yeah. But there's all sorts of reasons why people ultimately need to leave your company, even if you're doing a great job. And so it's always good to have very clear systematic processes.
Quick question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, question with that then. So do you help with, as a part of your process, helping people with SOPs and putting that stuff together?
That's one of those interesting shifts in this AI for teams mastermind that we're doing, is that it's been one of my first shifts from moving on the marketing end into starting to help people, because really that's where the biggest opportunity is it's around thinking through every aspect of your business from those systems sort of thinking, right?
Yep.
Where I've done that the most is in marketing. And that's probably where I have my biggest edge, if that makes sense.
Sure. Yep.
But that being said, I build SOPs for my business. I have documentation for how I do what I do, and applying those concepts to a real estate business. I think there's a lot of opportunity for, and honestly, probably one of the biggest areas where I see AI being useful that most people are missing. Right. They're seeing the shiny, like, write me a rap about a cat, and getting excited about that, which is fun. It's interesting, but it doesn't actually change your business. But being able to take processes that used to take you 5 hours and get them down to a 15-minute process, that makes a pretty meaningful difference in your business.
Yeah. Streamlining, organizing.
Yeah.
Automating.
Exactly.
Right. So yeah, that's cool. So very good that you, because I know a lot of agents out there could totally use more. And I could even, like, we try to systemize things all the time, but always could be better and always could be automating. And, I've always had a goal of having, a training manual and so it doesn't matter what person is there to fill that role. Somebody can sit down and be like, okay, step 1, step 2, step 3.
Right.
And have that all systemized. So that's super cool. And
one of the biggest reasons why I think most people struggle to make that happen is because it's hard. It has historically been hard to do that kind of documentation. And that's part like the big thing that has changed with AI that a lot of people I think are missing is we have been used to sort of a set understanding of what is hard, what is easy. And that's changed. What is easy is now expanded. And we're all of us who are kind of going through this realm of figuring out what AI can do, we're starting to see, like, oh, this thing that used to be like, sure, important, necessary, but hard. It's like now some of those things are starting to become easy, like documentation. Like literally my process at this point literally looks like this. When I want to document a process, I turn on a screen recording, I start talking through it, and I make sure to include a couple of things. What's the purpose of what this process is intended to accomplish? Like, what does it fit in the overall scheme of what we're trying to accomplish? I cover what are the requirements in order to do this? And often I'm not doing that at the front. I'm doing that as I'm going through it. I'm saying, oh yeah, at this part of the process, you're going to need this in order to do this, right? And so then I'm walking through the process, and then I'm laying out, here's what you do step by step. And because I'm using a transcript, I'm using very visual language as much as possible. You're going to click the button in the top right and not saying you're going to click this button, right? Because if it's just the video, then great, you can see that. But if I'm leveraging a transcript, I want the AI to be able to see in the transcript very clear, visual, specific steps. Right?
Yeah, I love that.
And so that I'm laying out the process, and then at the end of the video, I will say something like, you'll know you were successful if you have these things accomplished, right? And so we start with we have our prerequisites, we have our steps, we have an understanding of the goal, we have our outcomes. And my goal is typically to have a video be no more than 15 minutes. The right range is 15 minutes or less. If it takes longer than 15 minutes, you need to have multiple SOPs. You need to have multiple videos documenting it. If you could do that, but what's cool is you record that video, just sort of flow through the process. You could take a transcript of that video, throw that into a tool like ChatGPT or Claude, and I have a prompt that I've developed in order to take that and put it into what I call a perfect SOP structure that has all of these things laid out, where it extracts the goal, time estimate, steps, prerequisites, all of that. And it gives it all back to you in this well-structured document that you tie the video together with that document. Now you have both a written and a video to go with it.
Well, heck, how do we get access to that? That's what I want to know.
So, I mean, some of this stuff, I forget if I've released this one for free or not. But if you check out what we're up to at Real Estate Growth Hackers, that's going to be your best way to see what we're up to and how to get access to this sort of stuff. The group that I'm putting together right now is geared toward real estate team owners who are looking to implement these kinds of systems at a high level, right? That are wanting to equip their agents, equip their team on how to do these things really effectively, really practically. And so for that, reach out to us at realestategrowthhackers.com/contact. I do not have a landing page for this yet. This is literally something we're moving quick, right? We're moving quick and we're breaking things. We're putting this together in the weeds, trying to make sure that we can actually get this stuff out and help people quickly. At some point, I will, I'm sure, put together a landing page and collateral around it. But if it sounds interesting, feel free to reach out. But otherwise,
interesting,
but so that SOP one, I think I've released that SOP prompt for free. I'll be sure after the fact or whatever, I'll make sure that we can get that into the notes so that people can access that. But yeah, it's basically it's based on like it's sort of this culmination of a number of things, right? I've done a lot of research around what makes a good SOP, right? So what are the things that ultimately make it so that somebody can come to this document and walk away with a clear understanding of a process, right? I've taken that knowledge of how to put together an SOP, and I've put that together in a way that's designed to teach AI the same concept.
Yeah,
that it knows how to do that.
Yeah, that's incredible. I really think it's amazing. Like that. So so do you just dictate, or do you do some kind of a filming of these processes that gets loaded into the AI and then spits out the transcript?
Yeah. So I use a combination of tools. So if you're familiar with Loom works well for this. You can actually, Loom will get you a transcript of the video as you're going through and showing it. So that's a good one. I actually personally right now, I use a tool called Descript in order to record and capture most of these. The biggest reason why I use this Descript rather than Loom is because I was going to be paying for Descript anyway, and it does all the same things that Loom does, at least at the level that I need it to. So it's more of a cost savings thing. But if you're already using Loom is good enough. You could use that. Really, the key thing that you're looking for is you're looking for something that's going to record your audio and record your screen so that you can show things visually. And then the most important aspect is that you need a transcript. And if you aren't using a tool that gives you that by default, there are tools that let you get audio transcribed. If you're on a Mac, there's actually a free program called Mac Whisper that will take an audio file or a video file and give you a transcript back at any length that you need.
What was that one called?
Mac Whisper. Mac Whisper.
Mac Whisper. That's for Apple. It's for Macs.
Correct. There are similar free software for Windows. The reason why it's called Mac Whisper is because it's built on OpenAI's Whisper technology. Whisper is the model that OpenAI put out and open sourced it, so that all the source code is available. It's transcription model. It allows it to transcribe things and transcribe audio and video. So they bottled that code up in an easy to use interface that you could load up a video and get back a transcript, basically. There is a paid version of it. I only recently upgraded to the paid version because it let me do batch transcriptions. The free version is honestly plenty good for most people. So,
okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, and then you know what else we've discovered recently is that Word will transcribe. So if you have Word up, it'll just transcribe. It won't do the video part, but it can transcribe audio.
Yeah, and so like this is the key to me is understanding the overall system of what do you need in order to get to the end result that you're looking for, right? So the reason why I record a video for the SOPs is because a good SOP not only has those different elements that I mentioned, the prerequisites, the purpose, the steps, the outcomes, those ideas. I like it to have both video and written. And here's why.
Yeah.
People learn the concept best through video, but when they actually need to put it into practice, the written manual is what you want to have, because that's what they're going to reference back to. That's what when they're in that step, they're going to look at that and say, oh, I'm here. Okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. Trying to do that with video is possible. It makes it take 10 times as long to try and do that with a video, though. So you want the video because the video teaches them, but you want the written when they actually need like that field manual to go and do it. Does that make sense?
You know what? That is freaking amazing, like how you broke it down like that, because I've never been able to say it that way, and I've never actually heard somebody say it that way, because they are both beneficial. Right. But like you said, like if you're trying to implement something, you don't want to pause, rewind, go to the part in the video and watch that again so that you can do it. Like to get an overview, maybe watch a video, and then when you're implementing, the written is so handy.
Absolutely.
I really like the way you put that. That's super smart.
Well, thank you. And so to your point though about Word, so like being able to transcribe into Word is really useful. I'd say for this kind of purpose, specifically as an SOP, I want the video. I want that because that's going to be helpful for my end result of getting a polished SOP. But you know where something like just being able to dictate into a document is really useful? When I want to free flow my thoughts and then use that transcript, throw that into AI with a well-structured prompt in order to turn it into a well-structured social media post, blog post, email, Facebook campaign, direct mail campaign, that it's really good for that sort of thing, where it's easy for me to just turn on a mic and talk and then turn that into what I actually need for something structured. Because that's really important to actually get good results from AI. If you want to get something generic, ask AI for whatever you want and give it zero context. You're going to get something generic that is useless.
Yeah. But people are using that at a high level right now. They're using that like, hey, I needed this written, and then it's a generic thing. And they're like, oh, I'll take that. But it's like, yeah, it might be better than what you could come up with, but it's not the best thing necessarily.
Absolutely. And it won't sound like you. It won't leverage your humanity, right? Like this is one of the things that I talk about with AI. The more that you rely on AI without bringing in human context, the more likely you are setting yourself up to be replaced. Whether it's by the AI itself or whether it's by other humans that are actually going to put in some level of effort, right? So I don't recommend doing it. What I recommend doing is I recommend saying, bring your humanity into it. Give it context. Give your point of view. Have a point of view. Right? Bring your point of view and have that be the context, and say, turn my thoughts into something that's well structured.
Yeah.
Right? Take me and put it into something that's designed for this use case or this platform.
Can we come up with like a little example of like, okay, this is a thing that I need. Here's what you can say to ChatGPT to kick it out the way that would be better than what people are just doing right now, because this is way better than what people are doing right now. So
so I have a framework for this. It's called I call it my mega prompt framework, and there's a few things that come into play if you want to prompt AI successfully.
Okay.
So the first thing is a persona. The persona that you want AI to act as. And that's literally what you start with. You say, act as, and then what you want to do is you want to think of either a job title, a role, an expertise, or maybe even a person that you want it to take on that identity. This has been proven to actually dial in the large language models, these AI systems like ChatGPT. It's been proven to actually narrow them in on a subset of what it's been trained on, right? So you're getting it to more likely produce something in alignment with what you're looking for. So like as a, for instance, let's say that let's say that we're working on a market update. Okay. I'm going to do like a market update video. Okay.
Yep.
So I would say, act as an engaging, compelling, informed real estate expert, familiar with how to keep an audience interested about real estate news and updates. Okay, so I'd say something like that, right?
Yep.
So that's our first thing. So at the persona. The next thing that we're going to tell it is we're going to tell it the actual task that we want it to do, right? So persona, task. Task is, what do I want you to do? Well, I want you to write a video script outline based on the provided context that I give you. Okay, so pretty simple. We're just going to say the task itself in simple terms. The next thing that helps us get much better results is to actually give it a process or steps to follow. So, steps to complete, or steps or process is typically how I title that section in my prompt. And I'll say, step 1, I want you to understand my context fully, right? I want you to understand and synthesize the information that I provide you so that you understand it. Okay. Step 2, I want you to lay out a logical flow of how that context can be applied to this scenario of creating a market update. 3, I want you to take that laid out context and I want you to flesh it out into an example script that I could potentially read or follow based on that context. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
so it's awesome.
So what this does, it's really important. AI actually works very similarly to us. Typically, like I've been surprised. The more that I think about it this way, the better the results tend to be. If I give you, Shay, if I say right now, hey, go write a market update, and you've had no training, right? And you literally just try and start, wording out the market update. It's like what you're going to produce from that is going to be very different than if I say, hey, Shay, here's what I want you to do. I want you to go and research these key metrics of what's going on in the market. I then want you to take those and extract 3 primary points from those that are actually useful and relevant to the market. And then I want you to follow this structure where you give me an intro. You say, I'm going to talk about these 3 points. Have the 3 points, explain what they are, what the numbers show, and why they're important. And then I want you to give me a conclusion that ties that together and why it matters.
Yeah.
And then I want you to outline that, and then I want you to actually get on and record this.
Yep. That's so cool.
Are you going to have an easier time with the second method compared to the first, right?
Yes, 100%. Yeah.
And so AI works the same way. That's why when you lay out the tasks, it actually gets it thinking through these things step by step.
I love it, man. I think this is next level because for a lot of realtors, we don't think that way. We're in the we know how to do stuff and we do it. And somebody's taught us, obviously, but maybe we're not as good of teachers as we are as implementers. So a lot of people that are successful and get in and they get it. Like I'll say first thing, I'm an excellent learner, not so great of a teacher because I think it's magic. But I don't know how to explain it. I just do it, but this is a cool way to deconstruct the way that we think about it and think of it in a way that can be broken down into steps to have somebody else do it better.
Yeah.
And then somebody else could be AI, which is amazing.
Exactly. Yep. And so then after you give it the steps, you're going to give it a goal. The goal is essentially the same idea as the SOP. This is what a successful outcome looks like, right? At the end of this process, you will have produced this. This is how you'll know it's successful. It's compelling, it's engaging, it's complete. It has these elements present, right? Like, so you're going to give it a goal that lets it know what it's shooting for. And then the last section of a mega prompt for me, technically there's two more, would be what I call context or constraints. So context and constraints is there any relevant context to consider? Like, hey, I want you to know right now going on in the market is like, things have been really hard, right? Like interest rates are high. And so we're seeing less sales happen than typically have happened. People are afraid about this. I kind of want this in the context of this. It might also be, I need like a constraint might be, I need the video to ultimately be 3 minutes or less. So what you script for me, I want to be in that. So any of those levels where you're like, here's how I sort of massage into this thing that's more specific, right? That's context and constraints. You can add those. That's also where you would throw in something like, I want the script to be detailed as if I'm a pirate, right? So I want you to give me the script like it's like I'm going to be saying it like a pirate, right?
That's funny.
That's what the context constraints are. And then the last thing that I do in a mega prompt is I provide templates or examples. So templates would be, here's like, if I know exactly what I want it to give me back, I'll give it like almost to fill in the blank. I use brackets to explain the sections of something. But I'll say, here's a template that I want you to follow, and I give it what it would need to follow that. Otherwise, I might give it examples where I say, I want you to write this, but I want it to sound like me. Here's a handful of examples of what my language sounds like. Right. And so I'll give it examples. And then when you develop a prompt that way, you're building something that I call a mega prompt. And what I tend to do at this point, when I need to get down and actually do something, I don't start by doing the work anymore. What I start by doing is I start by thinking through what is the prompt that I need to develop that'll make most of the effort of this work drastically easier.
Wow.
And so I put together a prompt like this for SOPs. I put together prompts like this for developing Facebook ad copy. I put together prompts like this, coming up with visual concepts for Facebook ad images. I've come up with prompts like this for how I figure out testing and tracking of ads. I come up with prompts like this for how I put together follow-up sequences and nurture sequences. And so when I need to do something, I'm taking my expertise and my knowledge and I'm putting it together into a system that could then be thrown into AI to get a consistent, repeatable result. Does that make sense?
100% it makes sense. So after you make this mega prompt and put it in there, it's kicking you out really good content.
Yeah.
The results are really good.
Yeah. So just like everything, the final polish will take some human intervention, right?
Right.
But we're talking, this thing takes, so like the SOP prompt, for instance, it'll take the transcript of a 5 to 15 minute video, and what it'll give you back is something that's already well structured, but maybe it missed a little bit of the nuance, right? And so in the steps, you're like, oh yeah, this is a little bit off. Let me fix that. Or, this could really be improved with a couple of screenshots. Let me take some screenshots and throw them in there. Or this list of requirements, it's actually a little bit too exhaustive. Really, the only thing that they need is this, right? And so you go in and you massage it, but now you're taking the role of an editor rather than having to be the role of the creator, right? And you're moving past that blank page into something that's really easy to refine back into what you're looking for, rather than having to come up with a concept from scratch. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's so cool. I have a question then. All of that is amazing. So to get so do you have a part of a program or something where you have this mega prompt info in it?
Yeah. So that AI for Teams mastermind that we're doing, that's going to be the best place to do that. Otherwise, I do a show similar to this as well, where I talk through these concepts and make these sorts of things available. As of right now, I don't literally, this is one of those interesting things. Most people are looking at this AI stuff as an opportunity to sell something new, right? And they're putting together lots of assets and materials and things to sell people. I have been too busy actually using it in my day-to-day life. I have been implementing with this stuff. And so the reason why I'm starting this mastermind is it's a form and a mechanism that I think will actually be most beneficial to people, where I can take what I'm learning and what we're learning together, and bring it together in a very practical way designed to solve specific problems. And so within that mastermind, I mean, I'm looking at every prompt that I put together, people get access to. Every everything that we're learning together, you get access to. Any course that I've put together, whether it's AI or not, people are getting access to in this mastermind.
Wow,
the whole
cool.
goal is to make sure that people have what they need to implement on this, knowing that what we're striving to do is create this massive this massive wave of implementation around these concepts. But yeah, that's going to be your best option. I do have a ton of free content as well. Realestategrowthhackers.com. If you go there and check it out, a lot of this stuff you can find for free on there. I've always been a big believer in, I love to have some way that if people are motivated enough, dedicated enough, that they can find their path. And most of this information is available completely for free. If you want hand-holding, if you want guidance, if you want coaching, that's where you need to pay. Does that make sense?
Right.
That if I'm going to take time away from my family, we're going to make sure that I'm compensated for it.
Right. Yeah. So I love that. You're giving lots of value to people.
Right.
And then you also have next level help for those that want to tap in deeper and get, one-to-one guidance. Right. So, I mean, that's super appropriate. I mean, because a lot of people don't even give the free value or very little of it to begin with.
Right.
And sounds like you have lots of free value, and you're creating a lot of value, and you're coming from abundance and all of those things that I teach. Because when you do it that way and you care about people and you're actually trying to help people level up in whichever way, everything's going to come back to you, much, in a much better way, if you ask me. And it makes it more effortless than always trying to grind and sell people on stuff. So very cool, man. I'm super impressed with all of this stuff. I didn't know really where we would get going with this, but boy, I am floored. Like, there's so much usable information that you just gave, I think, for real estate agents, and then maybe people in general too, just any business owner.
Can I blow your mind just one more time?
Please do.
Okay, so you know how I mentioned when I need to do the work of something, the first thing that I do is come up with a prompt?
Yes.
Well, I don't know if you realize this, but putting together a mega prompt is kind of a lot of work.
Yeah.
So you know what I did?
Did you record it just now?
I put together a prompt that builds a mega prompt for me based on the context that I give it around what I want to accomplish and the basic ideas of how it should accomplish it, so that I could talk in, record a quick note if I need to, or do a little bit of back and forth. And it will actually do the work for me, either through question and answer of getting me to refine context, and then come back to me with a well-structured mega prompt. It's still same thing. It might need a little bit of refinement, but I have one that does that. I call that Prompt Engineer GPT is what I call that one. And then I have another one that, how when you're working in ChatGPT and like you start down a process, and maybe you don't start it with a mega prompt, right? Like you ask for the thing, and then it comes back and you're like, it's a little bit off. Let me get something slightly different. Like, can you change this aspect? That's still a little bit off. Please change it in this way, change these specific words. And you end up with this long thread, but ultimately at the end of it, you have the thing that you want, right? Like you refine down to the thing that you want. Yeah. Well, for those style of threads, I actually have a prompt that's designed to go in right at the end of all of that work and turn all of the work that you just did into a mega prompt, so that in the future you don't have to re-go through that process, right? Wow. So you could take all of the work that you just did working with ChatGPT and turn it into something that's repeatable and reusable in the future.
This is crazy. I think you're going to make it so that the robots actually take us over, but in a funny way, yes. But I think this is what is cool about what you're doing is you're taking thought process and implementation and breaking it down into simple steps and then reordering. So it's almost like you're taking how a person's brain works in a way and being able to convey that to something. It's really neat. It's really cool, because I think when, like I said, you're almost like creating a teacher mind in where they think back about, okay, let's break this down into the simplest steps to reach our goal. And this is what we're trying to do, and blah, blah, blah. And then, you're putting it into a system that can kick it out
Right.
And then not only that, but you're systemizing the systems in the first place. So that's really, really cool, man. It is mind blowing and impressive.
My goal ultimately, and this is really, going back to the 4-hour work week. This is where I think we should all mentally be striving to move toward. Each and every one of us should only be doing the work that only we can do. If somebody else can do it, it should be being done by somebody else, either through software and systems or through somebody who that's their passion. That's where they come alive, right? If you are really great at some part of the process and you love doing that part of the process, but you do these other parts because they have to be done, we should be striving to figure out how to get as many of those things off your plate and either onto the plate of software or onto the plate of somebody on your team who can do that for you and love doing it. And so that's how I think about everything. I think through every part of my business is either in the bucket of it's where I am best suited to bring massive results, or it's not. And sure, sometimes I have to do the things that aren't the best use of my time. My goal is to continually move as many of those things as I can off of my plate and onto the plate of either software or someone on my team. And so I work really hard at doing that.
I love it. And I'd love to talk to you more about it. Off this, let's schedule a time to chat some more about this. I want to learn more about all of the things that you have. So you have realestategrowthhackers.com. Do you have IG, Instagram? Do you have Facebook? Do you have YouTube stuff? Where else can they find you?
I believe all of our social links are linked on realestategrowthhackers.com. If you go to the contact page, I believe that's where they're linked. If you Google Real Estate Growth Hackers, or if you look on Instagram and all of those, you can find what we're doing there. In terms of marketing, I'm mixing around a little bit about where some of this content is found. So some of the content is coming more through my personal stuff. Through the Zach Hammer brand and whatnot. Platforms like Twitter and LinkedIn, for instance, they tend to perform better if they come through your personal brand rather than through the business identity. You can connect with me through those. If you go to realestategrowthhackers.com /contact and ask me to link to this stuff, I would gladly do that as well. And then I'm sure after this, I could get you to a document that has like all my social links and whatnot. But if I haven't already,
I'm sure that just this was good enough. But and then one last thing, if people have just questions about this stuff and want to pick your brain some more, they'd be able to reach out to you and just do that.
Somewhat.
What's
depends
the best
on
way? I know you're busy.
Yes. Yeah, so it depends on what you're looking for. If you want me to come and directly help you on something, I do have paid consulting available. If you reach out, realestategrowthhackers.com /contact, I can get you the information on that, where you can book a time and we could dive into whatever you want to. That sort of idea. If you want me to sort of reveal everything and talk about whatever you need to, that mastermind is going to be the best place where that's going to happen. And then otherwise, typically, when it comes to, hey, I just want help or consulting. If there's some way that I can make teaching somebody else beneficial to creating content or something like that, sometimes there's opportunities that way as well. But those are kind of the opportunities there.
I like it. Sounds like there's plenty of opportunity. It sounds like the best would be, and I'm going to join it, is your AI for teams mastermind, nice. Which we can find if we go to the Real Estate Growth Hackers, right?
Kind of. So again, no landing page. If you're interested, go to realestategrowthhackers.com /contact and I'll get you the details.
All right. Well, put me on it, or I'll go to the site or whatever, but I'm definitely in.
Sounds good.
So thanks so much for joining us today. This was an amazing show, amazing call. Thank you for sharing all of this wisdom with everybody. And I'd love to have you on the show again.
Sounds good.
And we're almost close enough to even meet up. So next time, maybe I'm more your way or you're more this way. We can meet in the middle.
We got to meet up in Des Moines sometime. We'll share some Casey's pizza, have some corn, and a pork tenderloin sandwich.
Yes.
And have the very Iowa meal together.
Hey, now you're talking my language. I love all of those things. So awesome, man. Well, thanks again for coming on the show. Happy Thanksgiving to you and the fam. And we'll see you again soon. Thank you all for coming to the show today. We will see you on Thursday for the National Real Estate News. And take care for now. Have a good day.